Tubas, oboes, trombones. That's not the type of symphony we're talking about today. We are talking instead about the Hormone Symphony. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Your Health, Your Choice. This is Dr. David, and again, joining us for part 3 of a 3-part series, Dr. Cathy Nutting. Hello, Cathy, once again.
Hello, good to see you. Good thing we're not
Good.
talking about those kind of symphonies. You're more musical than me. I'm not so musical.
Really, because I've heard you playing a mean tuba. So, maybe I thought that came up in your interview when you started working for us. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but anyway, so
maybe
we're going to be
somebody
talking
else.
all about that. Yeah, I may be thinking of somebody else. Yeah. So, if for those who haven't caught our first 2 episodes on this topic, Cathy works for us at Holistic Pediatrics and Family Care. She's been with us for 7 years. She is a nurse practitioner, doctorate level. She helped create the doctorate program of integrative medicine at University of South Florida. She focuses on a lot about anti-aging and regenerative and functional medicine. And just a pleasure that she is part of our office and someone who has saved my butt a few times when it's come to patients that I didn't know what to do next. And Cathy came in and swooped in and saved the day. So welcome, Cathy.
Thank you. Thank you for that great
Oh,
introduction.
yeah, well, I got to become more creative each time we do one of these. All
Yeah,
righty. Yeah, and as I mentioned in the first one, if you hang out with Cathy and I get us in a room for about an hour, you will see the 2 biggest goofballs of all time hanging out.
for
We crack
sure.
each other up tremendously. It's
Yes.
wonderful. All right, so tell us about what the hormonal symphony is, Cathy.
Well, we've been talking a lot about sex hormones in the first 2 episodes. And, I think we mentioned at the first episode that, there's other hormones besides the sex hormones of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. There's also thyroid hormones and adrenal hormones, and even vitamin D is a hormone. But in particular, the thyroid hormones, the adrenal hormones, and the sex hormones really work in what a lot of people call a symphony together, and one affects the other and the others affect the others. And so when you're treating women's hormones, you can't really ignore the adrenal hormones and the thyroid hormones because of this interaction. And so whenever, I'm dealing with a person who has hormonal problems, I always want to look at those hormones as well and kind of treat them simultaneously.
Yeah, definitely. And they do just so impact the others. And sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
a little challenge to like, well, where do I start? Because
Right.
I know that these hormones being off can affect these hormones over there. So it's almost
Yeah.
sometimes I find like a little bit of a chicken versus egg question. And where do
Mm-hmm.
you, where do
Mm-hmm.
you start at and do that? Because I know, for instance, that if I get certain nutrients right, I get the thyroid right, that the adrenal is going to function better. And so some of the
Mm-hmm.
abnormalities that I may catch originally at this may self-resolve with those other things, or they may not, and they may be causing some of
Right.
the other hormones. So again, this is not something that one
Yeah.
can just dabble in. This is not something you can
Mm-hmm.
DIY at home. You really
Mm-hmm.
want to be with a very experienced professional. So happy that we have one on our team to do this, because I don't know what I would do without it, without you, Cathy. But that's great. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Now we're going to talk a little bit more now, though, about how the different things that we are exposed to can have an impact on how our hormones are functioning. Okay. So
Exactly.
the first thing, yeah. So first, we're going to talk about what we call as exogenous estrogens. So take it away.
Okay, so exogenous estrogens are estrogens that come from outside your body. That would be opposed to endogenous estrogens, which are the estrogens that our body produces. So we have in our body, if we measure them, we have endogenous and exogenous estrogens. So we can't always do a lot about the estrogens that our body makes or how we metabolize them. We have some control over that, and we have some tricks to modulate that. But the exogenous estrogens we can do a lot about, and that has to do with different things. In our environment, it has to do with our water supply. It has to do with the foods that we eat, the kinds of foods that we choose, and the personal care products that we use.
Yeah, that's a lot of exposures that we have now.
Yeah.
One of the things that certainly most people have heard about this point and that we talk about too, is the importance of eating organic food. Now, of
Hmm.
course, no one wants to be knowingly putting pesticides into their body in the first place. And I'll have you talk in just a minute on how those pesticides could have an impact on hormones, etc. But also that there's just such a wonderful resource that's out there, which is
Hmm.
from the environmental work group. People have certainly heard of this, the Clean 15 and the Dirty 12 or the Dirty Dozen, which is, they're a third party, private, nonpartisan, non governmental work group that every year measures the pesticide levels in all of the different fruits and vegetables. And the Clean 15 are if in the non organic foods, are the ones that have the least amount of pesticides, and the Dirty Dozen are the ones that have the most pesticides. And they update this every year. Strawberries is always up highest up on that list and it's kind of like a sponge. I always think of like that soft texture. It's
Hmm.
just like sucking up the pesticides if it's being exposed. But using that list, because yes, in a perfect world, we would all eat organic all the time. But of course, cost as well as availability, or when you go out, um, can impact that. So using these kinds of lists to at least make the wisest choices possible can decrease the exposures that you're getting. Now, Kathy, tell us why this is important relative to hormonal health.
Well, pesticides are really just one of a big category of chemicals called EDCs, or endocrine disrupting chemicals, including like phthalates and many other things that interfere with hormones, and cause, they've been, there's like a lot of increasing evidence for these EDCs being associated with obesity, infertility, tumors, even cognition and congenital issues, and not only in our current selves, but they pass intergenerationally. So what our mothers and grandparents were exposed to, and so that's really concerning. And so, it's really important, when you're trying to manage hormones, that you try and limit the amount of exogenous estrogens, including pesticides and phthalates. And the environmental working group that you were talking about also has a link, or on their website, Skin Deep, which is a website that evaluates personal care products. So you can see if the personal care products you're using have some of these chemicals in it, and they rate them, and so you can find replacements if yours are found to have a lot of endocrine disrupting chemicals in them. And so that's really important when you're working with hormones.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about the Skin Deep site, so they actually got on a scale of 1 to 12, 1 being the cleanest products, 12 being the most toxic products out there. One of the things that you can do on there, because you can sort by the type of product that it is, you can go look at the brand names, but one of the ways you can sort on there is you can just, for overall, you can actually click to see, like, which are the most toxic products that are out there. And one of the
Right.
things that I realized many years ago is that those 12s and 11s, the ones that are most toxic, almost all of them now say discontinued. So not only
Yeah.
is this serving as a watchdog and
Yeah.
an information, but it's serving as a filter for these companies. Because if you
Yeah.
show up on that toxic list of a 12, you're you're screwed. I mean, you don't want to be on
Yeah.
that list. And so you're going to
Right.
modify your behavior just based upon that. So that's why
Yeah.
it's really cool that we said some of the most toxic substances aren't even in the commercial circulation anymore, which is great. But let's say you want to look at nail polish or shampoo, and you can say you can click on shampoos. Now, what are the ones? Let me look at the
Hmm.
ones and twos and see that. So it's
Yes.
really nice. It's very convenient to be able to do that. I mean, I've stood in pharmacies before with my phone there and like clicking on them to kind of see,
Yeah.
which ones are, oh, let's go with this one today. So it is
Yeah.
nice to have such user friendly information, because sometimes you may find it in a study, you're like, yeah, how am I supposed to access this information? But it's right there at your
Hmm.
fingertips. So highly encourage everybody to be looking at that.
Right. And
Now
there's just so many
also,
more options
what?
now.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and now
yeah, there
there's more
definitely
option.
are.
There definitely is more options than there used to be, of healthier choices. When you go to the store, you can really find some better choices for sure.
Yeah. It's like the consumers have jumped ahead of the government,
Yep,
which really
consumer
shouldn't surprise
demand.
us all.
It's
Because,
powerful.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it is very powerful. It's very powerful, and thank
Yes.
goodness that let's face
Yes.
it, that isn't that the way it should be.
Uh, Exactly. Make your
Isn't that the way
voice
it should be?
heard. Be
Yeah.
loud,
Now,
people out
yeah.
there.
Now, another source of potential toxins is our water supply. Now,
Exactly.
I myself, we have a whole house filter for everything that comes into our house, and then we have additional filtration on our drinking supplies, so that way we make sure we're at the most water obviously entering our body through internally.
Hmm.
Kathy, but I know that you want to talk a little bit even about showering and bathing. So talk a little bit
Yeah.
about filtration there too, and why that's important.
Yeah, so a lot of people know to filter their water, or they just filter their water for taste reasons, not even, to filter out, chemicals and toxins and things like that. But hormones get in our water supply too, because people, flush or pour their birth control pills or their hormones down the sink or the toilet, and those get in our water supply, and they get into our bodies if we drink them in unfiltered water, if we cook with them in unfiltered water, and if we shower with them, they get absorbed into our skin. And just because, just like we were talking about, one of the ways you can administer hormones is topical administration. It's a very effective way of getting hormones in the body. It's also effective for getting hormones that are in your water supply in your water, and those are not good.
That you don't want. That
So
you don't want.
yes, exactly.
At least not the way it's being presented. Not
No.
those aren't prescription agents, that's for sure. Or they are prescriptive
No,
agents, but not
it's
prescribed for
not.
you.
It's not the right dose. It's not the right kind. It's
Right.
not, consistent amounts. Those kind of things. So it's problematic, and it's all kinds, and it's non-bioidentical kinds, and yeah. So yeah. So you want to filter your water. You can. It's a easy DIY. You can just twist off your shower head and put on a filtering shower head. They're widely available. I think we're going to put a link to some resources of how to find what good water filters and what to look for and things like that. But you can find them pretty widely available, even at regular stores like Home Depot and Lowe's and on Amazon. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Now,
Yeah.
um, another thing that I know that we talk about, relative to how hormones go, but are even from a food supply, okay, and cruciferous vegetables, okay.
Yes, our favorite.
You
Your
should see
favorite.
some of the conversations that Kathy and I have had through the years. You've heard me talk about my love of broccoli, and we talked about broccoli sprouts, the
Yeah.
sulforaphane, etc. like that. I still challenge to know if there is another human being out there who's eaten more broccoli than I have over the last 10 to 15 years. I do want to meet that person. We can go out and
Broccoli
have a
man.
competition. Maybe you, yeah. So, but it's kind of funny. Everybody knows about my broccoli days.
Mhm.
But anyway, but tell us why this is important.
Yeah, so the kind of vegetables in the class of cruciferous vegetables. So those include vegetables like broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower. Those are vegetables that are cruciferous vegetables. They have the unique quality of shifting estrogen metabolism to a more favorable pathway. So when I describe estrogen pathway, I'll often describe it like highways. So the preferred pathway is sort of like a toll road, and the regular road is kind of a neutral pathway, and then there's another pathway that's sort of like a broken down condemned road you shouldn't be driving on. So we want to shift our estrogen metabolism from that condemned road to the tollway, and cruciferous vegetables help us do that. So increasing the amount of cruciferous vegetables, there's lots of studies showing increased vegetables, and in particular cruciferous vegetables like 10 servings a day almost eliminate your risk of cancer, right? So and in particular related to estrogen cancers, it does that by shifting the estrogen metabolism to a more dangerous from a major more dangerous pathway to a safer pathway. So that's why it's important to eat cruciferous vegetables, and that's why probably your estrogen metabolism is excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure my estrogen metabolism is wonderful. I'm very excited about that. I'm good to
Yes,
know that I have a very low risk of breast cancer. And I do say that somewhat in joke, but
it's
not everybody's
possible
aware
for
that
men to.
breast cancer, men can get breast cancer too.
Exactly.
Just women can't get penis cancer. So,
That's true.
but yeah, it's another story
Not
altogether.
yet.
Right, which is a rare but is a thing too. You may never have heard of penis cancer, but there is such a thing there as well.
There is.
Yeah, and, obviously, female cancers, obviously, has been a very big thing. People of the channel may have, has certainly heard me talk about my mom's current struggle, with her ovarian cancer.
Mhm.
She has finished her chemotherapy this week.
Yay.
She is done with it, and so we're so excited about that. She handled
Yay.
it so well. We are so happy. The fatigue for a
We
few days,
are.
and then she gets on it. So I know that you've been involved in our family and in mom's health for a lot of this, and so thank you also for all of the years that you've put in dealing
Yeah.
working with my parents.
Yes.
um, uh, and so thank you for that too. So, alrighty. So, the last thing I want to quickly talk about is some of the changing perceptions of the um, non-integrative healthcare providers out there. And certainly, I know that when we started this, these were like, as if we were like breaking some laws, or we were dooming women to some type of catastrophic place in hell or something like that. And fortunately, I think things have been coming on. But tell me, what you've been seeing in terms of how those in the less holistic world have been seeing all of this.
Yeah, so we still have some resistance, and we have patients who see specialists who wonder what we're doing and or kind of contradict some of the things that we say. And we welcome that. We both welcome more patients being well informed and getting information from all sides of perspectives. But I think there has been an increased number in the number of providers that are involved in organizations like A4M and I4M and biomedical um, um, things. And so, those numbers are growing rapidly. And also, there's, consumer demand. People are asking for these kind of things. And so that kind of drives, more providers out there doing it, and satisfied customers as well, not just demand, as interest in it, but, success. And then there's
Success.
also been some advances in research that really are starting to show some of the things that we've seen, for a while in the research, but is coming more into the mainstream. And so I think that all of those things put together has caused a little bit of a shift. We still have a ways to go,
We do.
but it's coming along.
Excellent. 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 All right there. So, we could talk for many, many more hours on this topic, and, I'm sure
Yes.
we'll be bringing it up again on this channel too. But thank you again, Cathy, for spending some time with us and educating us and sharing your knowledge with
Mhm.
us. It's so wonderful to have you part of our team.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. David. It's good
Absolutely.
meeting you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, everybody, please join us on this channel. Join us on Patreon, where we're putting up more exclusive and personal things, where we get into that are not necessarily as involved in the science of things, although some is there too, but also getting to kind of know a little bit about us more, and things like that. So please join us over there. Have a great day, everybody. To your health and to your choice. Bye bye.